Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You want to welcome back Gary Darshan, Good Darshan, sorry, Mangit, and then you got Mukh,
Yeah.
and then my boy, yourself, Amrit. So, you wanted to present everybody a unique opportunity to, get into different atmosphere. I wanted to, kind of explore into different atmosphere with Gary, and that's he's big advocate on that, like understanding, pushing out good content.
We're basically trying to stay on air as long as we
As
can
long-
before we get canceled.
But before we can, try to put out,
It's the main goal here. It's the main
Before
goal.
we know it, already are.
Yeah, by the first topic that we kind of touch upon, is gonna see why we're saying, we're gonna get canceled right away here before we even launch our podcast here. So, but I want everybody to enjoy, this atmosphere that we have today, and then this is one of Gary's, close friends' shop that they want to introduce them to the audience. Man, go ahead.
Yeah, this is one of my close boys, Colin. He has APX performance. Dude, there's some nice ass cars in here, man.
Beautiful.
A little bit over my budget. And I'm trying to understand even how they're valued as high as they are, but they're definitely valued up there. And this place is dope, man. It's cool to see, like when you see friends striving and stuff like that, they turn passion into hobbies and hobbies into like businesses and stuff. That's kind of the cool thing to see. I always love seeing that stuff, and I love when I see examples of that stuff that people always like. Because people will be like, dude, how am I supposed to turn my passion into anything tangible?
Yep.
Right? How am I supposed to do this? And then I see byproducts of it, and I'm always inspired by it. And this is one of the places we're sitting in right now, man.
It humbles you too, because looking around, it inspires you as well, man. The thing is, this is a lot of people, they want to attain these type of lifestyle, and then to see it, bring it to existence around your friends, and it makes you think that all this stuff is attainable, man. It's just the mindset that you have and how you perceive it. And we were talking about this before the pod even came out. Before the podcast, it's like enjoying that success and sharing that success. And that's Colin kind of touched on this as well. We're like it's cool to have success, right? It's cool to enjoy all the things that you have, grinded for, worked hard for. What does it really mean if you don't have if you can't share it with no one? Imagine if he didn't know you, or you can't share it with him, vice versa. All the success you had, what is it really worth?
100%. Yeah, I think it's really important also to have like everything else in order.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to put Colin all out there and stuff like that, but I know he's a good family man. I know he's a good father. I know he's a good brother-in-law to one of my best friends, but yet he has this on the side too, right? He still has this going. He has a good job. And so it's sometimes somebody gets too invested in one thing, they lose sight of everything else.
Exactly.
And when you find a man or you find somebody like, a friend that has everything balanced, there's no reason why you shouldn't be inspired. And, to see stuff like that, like to come in here, it's like a playground, right? It's like a playground, right? So it's like, it's dope to have, and thank you for letting us do this out of here.
Yeah, man.
It was completely last minute.
It was.
Here we are.
Right? It was so funny. Like we were midway to a different place, and then we rerouted to here. I'm glad we did. This is perfect place to start off a conversation. And we were just talking about getting into some of the things that we want to talk about. A little bit more on the controversial side. Some people say some people don't. But one of the Olympics things that you guys wanted to touch on.
Well, the Olympics ended. I think, honestly, I'm one of the people that binges on the Olympics probably more than most people. In my house, you can't change the channel for 2 weeks straight. The only time you were allowed to change the channel was during the opening ceremonies.
Especially when
I'm not hating. I'm just saying, it was different. But after the opening ceremonies,
you're being polite. You're being polite.
I was even in on the synchronized swimming. I was in on everything. I watched every single thing there.
Even the breakdancing?
Oh, man.
Especially the breakdancing. Breakdancing inspired me the most. I'm trying out next year. I'm trying out for 2026?
Yeah.
LA? I'm going to be representing India, Canada on the breakdancing route. Trust me. I think most of my jiu-jitsu moves would work in that breakdancing.
I mean, the way they were moving.
She was shrimping. Ray Gun was shrimping. She was doing barrel rolls. Those are all jiu-jitsu moves right there that she was doing. Yeah. So I think I'm already halfway there on winning the gold medal in my division. So I'll definitely give it a go. Free trip to LA.
Free trip to LA. Why not? I prayed for everything. So I think the one thing you kind of touched upon is like, man, the impact it has. Good thing is, like, imagine like the kids that are watching Olympics. You're tuning in. What's the one thing that a lot of kids that watch, but okay, from the start to finish. The start is all the athletes coming together, holding the torch. You be like, oh, that's LeBron, that's this and that. But what did we see?
Oh, we just
the mimicking of the Last Supper, but they said it wasn't the mimicking of the Last Supper. But like you're making a mockery of a religion.
Yeah.
And and that's the one thing that people say shy ways. Like they say, in Christianity, people are being too lenient. They're not making as big deal as it should be because, as you said, now we're dealing with like it's hate speech to speak against it.
But
like, what's wrong with it?
None of us are Christian.
None of us are Christian.
No. But we
and
also,
that impacted me. I'm like, what are y'all doing? Imagine
100%.
like, that bugged me to the core because I imagine what little kids perceive that as.
Yeah.
It's like rewriting history. It's like that's what they perceive.
The thing too is it's something that you can't control. Too, right? Like something being shown on TV, you're trying to show your kids like, oh, this is Olympics. This is it should be influence to you. Because you never know where these kids, where they might take them in the future. Then you see this shit.
But the scary part that is?
It's almost become very normal.
Exactly. It's because, and guess what? Who controls that?
Yeah.
The PM of France. He could have came out and be like, no. What y'all doing here?
Do you think he
100%.
He watched it before it went live?
Oh, yeah.
They coordinate that.
Do you think they call in the PM and be like, listen,
They have to. They have to. They have to run by everything. The thing is, like, imagine you go to another country.
I feel like they put the trust in somebody and going, listen, I know what you're going to do. Because, like, dude, the PM's running France. You think he has time to show up for a dress rehearsal for the Olympic opening ceremony while he has to run a country at the same time? Like, I'm sure he takes somebody's word for it. It's like, listen, is everything good? Like, we're going to look good. Is the country going to look good on this night? And someone's like, yeah,
but that puts them in the bad faith, though. Because, like, okay, let's put France in perspective, right?
Yeah.
What's one of the main leading causes in France right now that they get a lot of backlash of? What's the highest in Europe? You know what it is? Is their violence rate. It's the highest in Europe. Not even close, by far. And what's the biggest backlash they get? They said they let a lot of, refugees in. They let this in. And that's another thing. I don't know if you guys, I forgot the Poland's president's name, man. He's a G. Did you guys watch his recent interview?
No, I didn't.
So they asked him about why he doesn't intake refugees and stuff. So if you guys didn't know, Poland is one of the most established, I want to say, European countries out there, man. I'm not even kidding.
Isn't Poland the one that pays for your university in Poland?
Yeah, everything. When it comes to their income, when it comes to their employment rate, when their violence rate is the lowest, right? And then he's like, he pretty much went on camera. He's like, I'm not letting nobody in. He's like, only people I care for is my family, my country. He's like, I don't give a fuck about anybody else. That's what he said on camera, And then going back to France, like, they didn't took that into consideration. There's a reason why the crime rates are so high.
Yeah.
Because, as you said, they're normalizing this.
Yeah.
Well, actually, when I went to Paris, I can't even remember what year it was. So they told us. So we went as a class from Williams Lake, from my hometown, and they told us make sure. So they wouldn't even let us leave our stuff in the hotel room where we were staying. So we would take our carry-ons with us.
See that?
So we were underneath the Eiffel Tower, and it was one of our.
Walking around with luggage.
But honestly, it was one of our own. It was like there was a lot of refugees in Paris at the time, and so there was this one mom and daughter that came, and they were carrying everything: their Apple laptop, their camera, everything. So all of us took turns carrying their carry-on.
Yeah.
We didn't care about what we brought. So we would leave it at the hotel. Like we didn't care. There was 1 minute where there was between 5 of us, we miscommunicated on who was watching it. I'm talking. It was in the middle, 5 people around facing the wrong direction. Yeah. Turned around, gone. $5,000 worth of stuff gone within a minute underneath the Eiffel Tower. Yeah. These same guys.
Nobody's safe.
The same guys were selling us roses 5 minutes before. We're looking around, absolutely gone. Luckily, she had insurance at the time, but within minutes, I'm talking like a minute, like there was miscommunication for a minute. Everything was gone.
Damn, that's crazy.
Whole suitcase, $5,000 worth of stuff within minutes. So the crime, like, I've gone with my wife too. Like, we went to Paris 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
I didn't really see much. I think it kind of depends. It's kind of like when I go to Colombia. There's 2 different sides of Colombia you can see. I went
with my boys.
I went with my wife. I'm like, this place is amazing. And I went to Pablo Escobar's hometown. I went into his pavilion, Comuna 13. I went to his hood. And I felt safe. I even actually, there was actually a point where our driver, so the driver that we had in Medellin, he was actually the location scout for Narcos. And he actually has a bullet wound in his calf from being shot walking out of a church when Pablo's guys were attacking churches or something like that.
Damn.
So anyway, so I told him, I'm like, listen, man, like I was intrigued. I'm like, dude, I want to meet these people. He's like, Pablo's brother will meet you if you want to.
Yeah.
So Pablo's brother is the one that opened up a mail package and it exploded in his hand and it took out his eye, so he wears a pirate patch. So we're literally driving up the road to meet him. I'm like excited. My wife started having an anxiety attack.
She's like, why?
She's like, yo, what the hell? Like, this is not what I want to see. Like, why do you need to meet this guy? You need to take a picture with him? Like, what are you going to do? You're going to flaunt it on Instagram or nothing?
It's once in a lifetime.
Like, what are you trying to prove here? We turned around and we left. But it's like, it really depends on who you go with and what you're surrounded by, right? Like Paris, I've gone with my wife and I felt pretty safe and we were in a good area. We were good stuff. Medellin, I felt safe. We were in a good spot. I went for my stem cells and stuff. It was amazing. I went to the roughest parts and it was one of the best places. And they told us this is where the gang wars used to happen. This is where the attacks happened. This was when they used to shut off all the communication. Because back then there wasn't social media at the time. So there wasn't social media, so you know how news travels so quick now. We know when the news is BSing us, right? So now the news has to work extra hard to kind of convince us that this is a storyline. So these guys used to apparently, this is what I'm hearing from the locals there, that they used to shut all communication to anybody up on the mountains. And it was actually the American army that used to attack the units. Looking for Pablo, but they would kill innocent people in the process. Right? But you would never see that on CNN the next morning. This is only what you're hearing from the locals when you're there.
Damn.
So we canceled yet?
I think that by the time midway through this podcast,
back up.
Shadow banned.
But it's like, but now we got taken to the same spot, completely safe. Dude, some of the greatest artists and graffiti artists and break dancers that I've seen were in that area. I'm telling you, it is one of the most inspiring places I went, one of the poorest areas of Colombia, and it's one of the most beautiful places you can go to now. And
that's true.
So even the Colombia Prime Minister, Wiz Khalifa went there, and obviously, Wiz is he's always promoting marijuana and drugs and stuff like that. And obviously when you go to Medellin, you attach Pablo Escobar to it right away.
Yep.
And the prime minister, the president, banned him from Colombia. He's like, dude, we're literally working our asses off to do a resurgence of the image of Colombia so people want to come visit. Because every time I tell people I went for stem cells, first thing they ask me is they're like, bro, you felt safe there? I'm too scared to go there. That's the first thing they ask, and rightfully so, because I asked them the same thing. Yeah. When I went there, I'm like, oh, this place has a totally bad image. It's a completely different. Best food I've ever had, most natural food I've had, most amazing people that I've met. It
was over. As you said, because I went there for 2 weeks. I went to Cartagena, I went to Medellin, Guatapé.
Cartagena, baby.
Bro, it's an interesting place.
Place.
All I will say is an interesting place. After 10 p.m., it's a very interesting
place, bro.
So, but
guess I gotta make a trip out there. Yeah. I gotta check this place out.
Not after this podcast.
Yeah, not after this. But the thing is, as you said, it's a perception that they put out, man. Like that shit. We traveled in local buses as well. I'm like, I don't want to get the experience from back home. We traveled in local buses in India. I'm like, man, ain't nothing wrong with this, but as you said, if you go looking for trouble, you'll find trouble.
100%.
And that's what it is. And bringing back to the whole Olympic part is what are we making acceptable in today's world? And that's what people having the issue with. Now there's such a divide, right? I say probably in Canada now, people are fed up amount of people that we're bringing in. There's a reason why. Why is that? It's the stuff that we're normalizing. Even let's say the people that we're bringing in, right? There's no proper structure in the way how the money is spread out and everything, right? Yeah. And that's a lot of these people that, for Poland, they're calling them a nationalism country. It's like, come on, man. If they're looking out the interests of their own country, that makes them a national country. Yeah. Nationalism, it shouldn't be frowned upon. Because, in North America, they compare it to what? Nazis. Yeah. Right? But the ideology where it comes from is the outlooking of his own country and the best they want to do. They don't want to intake certain things that they feel like will kind of ruin what they have built. Right? Yeah. That doesn't mean they're anti this or anti that. People are so quick to cancel, man. But when the stuff like that goes on in Olympics, it should have been canceled right then and there when the whole opening was happening.
Yeah. I'll say one thing about that. When you throw something, you keep throwing something in someone's face, and eventually even people are just fed up of it. It was kind of like the same thing with I know I'm getting in trouble. It was almost the same thing with the Me Too movement.
Me too. Yeah.
You kept throwing it in people's face. Eventually, people were like, listen, I'm all about it. I have gay friends. I have people, like, I work with people with that orientation. Nothing against it. But you keep throwing it, keep shoving it. So in a way, if there was an agenda, it was the time that it finally turned against him. Because you were doing it so much down someone's throat, where people are like, even the people that are supportive of it, are like, dude, like, you guys are really like relax with it, right? Like, we get it, like, support it, respect it, do whatever, let people choose whatever they want to be, but you don't need to keep downing this down here. Like, so in a way, it was almost a good thing. In a way, it was almost a good thing because you kept shoving it down so much. If you did it kind of like, subtly, sometimes it doesn't get, it just kind of keeps building. Something keeps building. Like, what they always say with anything, whether you're building a business, whether you're building a friendship, right? Whether you're building a relationship, right? If you're like, think about you find a woman and you're really into her and you're all in her space. You're all in her zone. You're calling her every second. You're texting her every second. Guess what? She's going to push away from you. If you're nice and so, like, you're like, hey, here's roses. Give it a day. Take her out to dinner. It's subtle. It builds. That's how I got my wife. Right? But this is the same
dating
thing.
Advice too. Right?
This is the same thing. You shove stuff down so far. Eventually, the very people that were supportive of it are like, dude, I see why people aren't. Right? Why people are sick of it. But the people, so that's what I think it is. They were like, dude, the opening ceremonies, majority of the world's watching this.
Yeah.
And you use this platform, and you don't just do it like for one part of it. It's a big part of it.
It's a big part.
And I know there was a lot of people that were arguing, like, it wasn't the Last Supper. It was something that was a French art piece or whatever.
No.
And you know what? That's fine. If it was. But at the end of the day, dude, there was a guy. So I didn't even notice this the first time.
Yeah.
That is.
Yep. No,
there was a guy whose balls were hanging out.
I
didn't even catch it.
What the fuck is going on?
He was like, if you watch the middle and you go 3 people to the right or left, right? You go 3 people to the left. His balls were hanging out on national TV.
Nah, man.
What?
No, that guy has a good eyesight, so.
Whoever caught that was like, I didn't catch it. I saw that on Twitter later, right? And it's like, okay, now what? Now what's going on?
But my question is though, like, my thing is like, why choose that specific event? If you want to project your own thoughts and opinions,
you know what?
No. But my thing is like, why you're making religion as a mockery though?
No, that's not.
That's what it is though.
That's not their agenda. You know why it is?
Yeah.
I don't think it was
the whole entire world talking about it.
Yeah.
That's it. Realistically, that's what it is, right? Yeah. Let's hop into like Olympics. Everybody think Olympic is done when the main events happen, and everybody forgets about the Paralympics.
Yeah.
They don't even look at that, right? We're talking about it like, how do you promote Paralympics? How, right? And now we were talking about like how it's popping off on TikTok, and they're doing it in an intriguing way that where now, as speaking wrong as it sounds, like some people might just stay up and watch it.
Yeah.
But some of the athletes, like, you gotta actually put their hats out. Like, we were talking that one athlete that jumped over 7 feet?
1.77 meters on one leg. Clear that. I know I can't.
On one leg.
I know I can't.
God blessing you too. I can't clear half a meter.
And I would have never known that. Would have never known that there were such feats like that happening, right? And that's. It's crazy to see. But after the opening ceremonies, aside from that, the Olympics were absolutely amazing. Dude, they were absolutely amazing. Like, I never seen, like, I always cheer for Jamaica. I always do in track and field. Track and field is one of my favorite things. Gymnastics is one of my favorite things.
U.S. dominated that.
Dude, U.S. dominated that. Canada in the relay?
Relay? Oh,
Canada in the relay.
Thought I was going to win gold, man.
Dude.
Like, I was so mad that more people didn't know about it. Like, I was like, they're like, what happened? We're not even watching. I'm like, how do you not know Canada just won the relay?
Yeah.
Nobody knew.
Like,
nobody
cared. And the thing was, like, outside of that, like, the gymnastics, Simone Biles. And,
man, she's a freak of athlete.
Coming back. Like, I have my opinions on Simone Biles. Like, I'm a big fan of hers. And I've always thought, like, people have always tried to convince me, like, with the Super Bowl and team sports and stuff, there's an agenda behind stuff like that. You get, like, you make she's a very sellable athlete, right? So now you get this girl, because there's something that I noticed that they would have never promoted on any other gymnast. So she was doing a practice run, and she so-called sprained her ankle. Right? But you get that narrative out there. Now it's Simone Biles competing with the sprained ankle. How is this hero of ours?
It's a petty story.
How is this hero of ours that we're cheering for all of the world? And when you got Lady Gaga in the crowd, you got Snoop Dogg there for every single one of her jumps. You got all these athletes,
crazy celebrities,
James Pratt, like all these guys are there for her.
Brad Pitt was there.
It's like,
crazy.
She won it. We saw her jump. She did her stuff, and she was amazing. But I also feel like there's certain little favoritism to build around. Like, I think she's an amazing athlete regardless, but I think they built up more of her stock by saying, oh, like, she hopped a little, like she sprained her ankle. Like, they build that up.
It's funny you say that. I agree.
I noticed that because I will notice these kind of things, just kind of seeing the outside, like, the whole world was going to cheer for her, but let's build it up a little bit more. Let's tell her more, because now we're going to put her on, because she's
ads, that.
She's under CAA. Which is CAA is one of the biggest agencies. CAA Sports is under one of the biggest is one of the biggest agencies. They have some of the biggest Hollywood stars from Priyanka Chopra to Jay, like everybody you can think of. CAA Sports also has every one of your top athletes, LeBron. So you got everybody from Simone Biles, everything like that. How do we make the most money out of this? This only comes every 4 years. We know she can win this, but how do we make it more inspirational, more motivational, so we can get her sponsorship deal, so we can get her on motivational gigs for the next 4 years as the woman that sprained her ankle in the warm up, but still won gold. Right? Carry
it's a story.
Team.
Make a story.
Everybody loves a story.
Hugging the other team when they would lose. Like, she's under all this agony of her ankle, but she's still giving. Like, it builds a story.
Emotional,
right? It builds a story. The camera's always going to be there. And that's one of the things I know is not taking any credit away from her performance. Trust me, I think gymnasts are the greatest athletes in the world.
I agree.
If you're an athlete, you realize how great they truly are. Like, Simone Biles was jumping, 11 and a half feet. She is 4'8".
No,
she's clearing it 11 and a half to 12
and a half. She did a triple, like somersault, like I don't know, some crazy shit that you don't even think of.
She's jumping on that tree.
Bro, I contemplated if I want to when I play ball, want to go jump into the big man's like 3 feet, let alone 11 feet. But one thing I do want to point out is the biases sometimes. Do you guys watch the basketball? Who was the main guy who's commentating the basketball? D Wade and I don't know the other one. Amount of time he would take shots at the other team, like slight ones. I hated it. I'm like, come on. I'm like, these are top athletes of all around the world, right?
Yeah.
You're the person they brought on to trust to have like not a skewed perspective for your country and your athletes or your friends and stuff, right? And I hated that. I'm like, man, he's throwing these slight shots at like, oh, hey, this is now European ball, like this is the real league now. It's like,
that's part of the game, that man.
Yeah, like a lot
of what D-Wade was saying.
That's what he was saying. Like he's like, and then one of the play where the player like kind of like he pretended to like flop, but it wasn't. He got hit. He's like, come on, man, quit that. He's like, quit that flopping shit. I'm like, that's what you guys got when you was back in Miami. You guys got killed for flopping. LeBron, like I love LeBron. Right. I see him as an idol, but amount of flopping he does. Remember that one time he got hit in the eye? He's like, I was seeing 2 rims. I was seeing 2
basketball has gotten soft, though.
Dude, I'll be honest with you, because I know you always bring up a lot of basketball references, because I can tell you're a basketball fan. It's one sport I hate.
Dude, I could see that. I could see why. I could see why.
I could see why. Final game. And that's because I knew, I started seeing Steph Curry just start singing them.
Bro.
So I was watching that greatness. But as far as basketball, especially, I think because, once again, we grew up during the Chicago Bulls era. We grew up during that harder era. And then every time I tune in, I watch LeBron. I'm like,
what is this?
What the hell is this shit?
Yeah.
And then
you're 6'8", 260?
He's bullshitting in every interview about the adversity that he faces. I'm like, what adversity?
I'll give you that. As much as I don't want to shit on it, but as you said, it's like, what did you grow up watching?
Yeah.
You got like we ended up
harder.
We watched this
harder.
Like back then is like if you actually watched it like I watched some of the YouTubers. Like I don't know how great Jordan was because I'm not gonna go back and sit here and watch hours and hours of his games. But you do see them getting like forecheck to their face or shoulder. You coming in, they literally elbowing you across your ribs.
All those, man.
Like
all those Utah Jazz series. Like I used to get it.
But again, one thing. Sorry, interrupting you. One thing I do say about today's basketball though is like the skill.
Is the skill better?
It is.
See,
it's
that's
not even
what I'm wondering,
close.
because
it's not even
obviously the evolution of all sports and MMA especially, because it's such a new sport, the evolution is so crazy. If you watch the Chuck Liddells, you watch the Randy Coutures, who couldn't You watch any of those guys, they could not survive in this. Tito Ortiz, none of them could survive in this era. They were all one-dimensional.
I'll make a good comparison.
I'm wondering, like, because I watched, like, I watched the Jordan era. Sat through that. I went through that. And I just felt like it was harder. There was more, the refs weren't calling as many fouls. Now I feel like it's so much softer.
You know what? I'll make a good comparison. I'll compare Kyrie to Mighty Mouse.
Okay.
Comparable. What was the one thing you watch Mighty Mouse? Is you don't know what the fuck he's going to do.
Yeah.
He's going to come up and he's going to jump up, like come down with the arm bar. Like, you don't know what he's going to do. Right. And that's the thing with Kyrie. Like back then, you know what's coming. You know what Michael Jordan's going to he's coming with that crossover. You know what AI is coming with. But now Kyrie is going behind the back. He's doing backboard spins that you never seen before. The skill.
So seamless.
And it's not even comparable. That's what I tell people. I'm like, you know what? Like, you're going to be fan of the era that you grow up in. Like,
so who's your Mount Rushmore of five?
Like mine? Like, only because I watched this era. Is like for me is Kobe.
So you only watch this era?
Because I was born. The thing is like I was born here, but I lived in India for 10 years. So I started watching ball like in 2009.
Okay.
Mine is like it's not even close. It's Shaq, KG, LeBron, Kobe, and then the last one is debatable. The reason why I say it's debatable because I'm still watching it. I'm still watching so many great players like. Curry is my fifth one, but there's so many other players that are coming up. But like someone like you'd be like, no, man, it's Jordan, Hakeem, like, all these OG players, right? Yeah. So is it the era that Will Chamberlain, Bill Russell,
Magic Johnson,
Bill Walton?
Yeah, exactly.
You're naming these like nitty gritty players. A lot of people won't even know who Ben Wallace was. But like, who's Ben Wallace? He's like that crazy motherfucker who fought Ron Artest in the Malice of the Palace fight.
Yeah.
But like that crazy motherfucker. That crazy motherfucker was blocking 4 or 5 shots a game. You would be that's when like back in the day you'd be scared to go in. You're scared to go in. You know what that story about Dwight that came out recently? He's like, what's the one thing that I was aiming for? And I went and watched that game because I'm like, he's bullshitting. So he's like, what's the one thing? He's like, I don't care who coming in. He's like, LeBron, Wade, Bosh. Like, let him come. He's like, let me meet him.
There's no Mouse in the Palace?
No. So this is they did it on Gale's Arena. Dwight Howard did a podcast, right?
Yeah.
And he was talking about how I think he was one of the best players, I would say, during that Kobe and LeBron time. I think so. Because like people were afraid to go in. That Miami game, he's like, let them come in. After the first period, what were they doing? He's like, Dwight said this before pregame. He's like, let them come the first half.
Yeah.
Third and the fourth, everybody's taking jumpers.
Yeah.
That's fear. Now there ain't no fear.
I love basketball. I just can't take it serious.
Now he loves it.
Just being a combat athlete, I just can't take it serious. I take football serious. I take hockey serious. I take any kind of contact sport. But if you can fall on a foul, soccer, I appreciate for the skill. But for the
diving,
that's
dude, I can't.
The funniest one is when they troll all around the pitch.
Oh yeah.
They're literally just rolling around on the pitch.
I appreciate Messi and all these guys for their skill, but that foul BS, screw that, man. I can't. And basketball is close second for me for that.
Damn.
You know, one thing I want to touch up with you is, man, gambling. Now, what I mean by gambling?
Gambling?
I want to. No. You know why? You know why I say that? Because, okay, if you're watching TSN, like today, I was watching the Packers game, right? Mm-hmm. Right before the Packers game, what's the TSN host talking about? The unders and over of how many passes Jordan Love's going to throw.
Yeah.
Imagine a 13-year-old, 15-year-old, 10-year-old kids watching. They're like, "What's this?" They're like, "Oh, this is intriguing."
Yeah.
We're starting up gambling at an early age. We're starting. It's a profitable business, right?
Yeah.
But thing is, like, where do you cross that line? We're like, okay, what are we promoting
there's
here?
Those videos coming out with those kids, like they have like sponsorship with these gambling companies. It's like catch a ball, you win $5,000, and an extra $5,000 if you do up and down, whatever.
No, look at college football. What was that one bowl that played? Modelo Bowl.
Yeah.
The pitch had the whole Modelo logo and everything.
I've been in Vegas since 2018. I've never been in a casino and gambled yet. I've never been to a craps table. I've never gambled.
Why silver?
But thing is, you have that mindset though. But thing is, imagine your kid watches that, right? And be like, hey, Dad, what's DraftKings?
But I do it for fun. Like, I do like $10 here and there, like on the UFC fights tomorrow.
But like, no, but
I'll drop $10 down.
no, but the reason why I say that, what's one of the main leading causes of suicide, like behind that, is what? Gambling debts. Gambling debt is one of the leading causes behind suicide. But that's the thing. But now take that in. People that are watching at a young age, it makes somebody like, yo, this is something normal. TSN is presenting it. Let's get into it at an early age. These kids at 15, 16, 14, they're gambling.
Yeah,
right?
they think that's a quick buck, right? It's quick and easy. That's the problem. There's no
If you're
control.
into investing, always invest into DraftKings. Oh yeah, this is not financial advice. Always invest into DraftKings leading into the Super Bowl.
Super Bowl. Yep.
Always DraftKings, any one of the gambling sites, it's gonna pump. Starting from January all the way till earnings into the next one. They never miss.
Did you see that bet on the Raiders? The guy he put up, how much did he put up? 50K?
Yeah,
to win the Super Bowl? How much was it?
It's gonna turn into $18 million.
And he put up how much?
I put $300 on it. I put $300. So that's.
You believe in Minshew that much?
Plus 8,000. Plus 8,000. Put $300. They'll pay me. I think it's like $80,000. Why not?
Sheesh.
I believe in the Raiders that much. I love.
How was that, man? Take us to the journey. We were talking about it, man. Like you're one of the, ambassadors, correct? If I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
Of the Raiders. How is that, man? Like, especially coming from a community where football is, nobody knows football. How many kids do you know that up in the community and football?
So I'm from Williams Lake, which is we never had a football program or nothing.
We didn't.
I wish we did, but also looking back at it, I'm glad we didn't because of concussions and stuff. We didn't know any better.
Yeah.
I would have taken up people's heads left and right.
Yeah, even in combat sports right now, I wish I was smarter with it, like leading up to it. But just like obviously you guys know I split my time between Vegas and here because I train for my fights out there. I fell in love with the whole culture of a lot of different sports. I was never into any other sports. MMA, that's it. Every fight, any promotion, that's what my life revolved around. Then, obviously, I grew up as a Vancouver Canucks fan, and that's all I knew, right? Then I moved to Vegas, and I fell in love with the Vegas Knights, not based on the team, but the culture that was built around it. Anytime I've really kind of fell in love with a team, it's the culture that's built around it. The Raiders, dude, you should see the tailgate parties we have outside leading up to it. My boy Raider Singh, they recognize us as like an Indian community, and they brought us in and they appreciate.
They embrace you.
They threw a party for us and stuff like that. Max Crosby, all these guys were there.
Crazy.
And it was just cool. We got to go to the headquarters and stuff like that. So just to know that you're kind of, I have this weird like I don't care if they ever win a Super Bowl. They're not the best team. I know that. But I absolutely love that team. And it's because of the people that I get to see every Sunday when I go to a game. Every Sunday when that day comes, it is like the best weekend. And it reminds me of my hometown, which is like 30,000 people. So whenever we would have our small town little minor league team playing, at the grocery store, they'd be handing out free tickets with your bill. If you spend $100 on you spend $100 on Save On, they give you a ticket. So everyone's like, oh, the Williams Lake team is playing today. There's nothing else going on.
Exactly.
So Vegas is very much like that. Vegas is still like this small town vibe, but it's all the big city stuff. You got a real NHL team who won the Stanley Cup. And now we got the Oakland Raiders, who are now the Las Vegas Raiders. But you still have your when you go to the grocery store that day before the game, everyone's wearing Raiders jerseys. When it's a Vegas Knights game, everyone's wearing Vegas. Everybody knows. Here, we're living in the big city. Not everybody knows that there's
Canucks are going to be playing,
including myself.
That's true.
Right? Only time we really get involved is during the playoffs.
That's like Oilers. The Oilers went in the playoffs, but then afterwards it's dead silent.
It's dead silent. But I think a big part of it is the thing about Vegas is they don't know better. So I went to a preseason game, and it's louder than any playoff game I've heard for Vancouver. I went in there, and I even said to the guy who took me, he's like, dude, these guys know this game doesn't count for shit? They're bro, I'm telling you, they don't know anything. They're just here. They would love cheering for the Vegas Knights. Preseason games going on right now. Sold out all the time because they're the cheapest ticket to go to. People take their families. People take their kids. It's a family event, and they cheer like they're at the Super Bowl game. Yeah. The place where my tickets are is called Winfield Club. So it's in the end zone where the Raiders always play twice, and then they wait. They
play the first and
yeah. And then as soon as the game's over, Diplo or somebody is a DJ, so they shut off the field. And I'm telling you, you wouldn't. If you ask 50, maybe even 80% of the people who won the game, they wouldn't know. They don't know. They celebrate like they won the Super Bowl every damn Sunday. It is the funnest damn vibe there is. The game will end up 5. The party will go till 12 o'clock. Then people will move to the nightclubs, to excess or something like that, and carry on.
Vegas don't sleep, so.
Dude, it's the craziest vibe, and I absolutely love that city for it. It's why I love the culture of all the sports. Yeah, that's why. So, like, like my own family will hate on me for being a Vegas Knights fan over a Vancouver fan, right? Like when they're in the playoffs. I'm like, dude, it's not so much about because I grew up as a Canucks fan. It wasn't really a choice. I wasn't gonna be a Calgary fan. I wasn't an Edmonton fan because I didn't grow up. There was no connection to me. But I split most of my time in Vegas and here, and then I just fell in love. Also, a lot of people don't know minority owners of the Vegas Knights is Indians. It's Punjabis is Sikhs. There's a minority owner family, and here's another thing. Whenever these Vancouver Canucks fans come at me, going, listen, you're a traitor. 75% of the Vegas Knights is people from Coquitlam, Burnaby, and Vancouver. 75% of the Vancouver Canucks are Swedes, Russians. They're American.
No Canadian. We were talking about that. We were talking about
That's interesting. I didn't know
but it is the most Vancouver, not even a Canadian team. It is the most Vancouver-based team.
Canucks love the Swedes. Look at the Sedin brothers, Ekman Larson. Exactly. Now they got Pedersen. They love their Swedes.
Listen, man, I love the culture. I feel like
No, it's true though. Like, thing is, like, it carried forward from Oakland Raiders, man. Like, I was lucky enough to go to one of their. This is the preseason in Oakland, man. Their tailgates.
See, I heard it's not. I never went to that.
Like, you just get goosebumps just walking to this stadium. Screw getting in it. You walk in there, you're getting goosebumps. It's like,
because I never went to an Oakland one, but people were like, it's still in no comparison to Oakland what Vegas is. And I wouldn't know because I never went to it.
Yeah, it's not even close, man.
And so, but for what I see, I've been to a Seattle Seahawks game, and I think it's in no comparison to a Vegas Raiders. Yeah. Actually, I went to a Vegas Raiders game when Seattle played in Seattle, and I'm like, oh crap, I'm gonna be the only one with a Raiders jersey on. Dude, 90% of the crowd was Raiders. Crazy. And I couldn't believe it. All the tailgate parties, majority of them were Raider tailgate parties in Seattle. I'm like, we travel.
Yeah.
Like, we travel. It's one thing if you have a winning team that keeps winning the Super Bowls, or it's like, oh, cool, you guys are. I know we're not a winning team, but the diehards, they're loyal.
Yeah.
They're loyal. And I got to meet a lot of them being one of the ambassadors. I have to meet all these little Instagram groups. There's a Raiders mom Instagram group. There's a Raiders father Instagram group. There's a Raiders family group where there's a charity where, obviously not every family can afford to go to Raiders game, where they use as charity to get a bunch of cash together, and they send families that can't afford it to the Raiders games. So there's a lot of community connection within the Raiders organization that I only started meeting now since being on the ambassadors in there. So I got to meet a lot of these people. I'm like, dude, this goes really deep. Like, it's not just fans that are cheering for the team. It's like community that's built within it, that they're diehards and they help each other out. They're supportive of each other. They want to help people that can't afford to come to a game because the Raiders ticket is not the cheapest ticket in Vegas.
Not. Especially
so they help, especially bringing a family. Family of 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. It's you're looking at $2,000-$3,000. Right. So you got these charities that bring these families. They let them enjoy it. They let them witness it at a family, and they create those memories. And that's a very dope thing. And that once again, that makes me even more. And you know what? Like the BC Lions, like I work with the BC Lions here a lot, working with a lot of the high-risk youth. They do a lot of that. They give us almost 300-400 free tickets every single week.
I think last week too, South Asia, like they partner up with a lot of the local communities, like organizations, like how Dampy had a South Asian hockey night. I think he gave away 50 tickets for the BC Lions. It's like, because like a lot of people can't afford it, man, especially living out here, like having a family and taking 4 kids, like people can't, right? So it's cool to see these organizations and you're taking initiative that people that actually can't experience it, but giving them at least a chance to be like, yo, every other week or this week, next week, if you guys can show out, come out. Like
a live experience is one of the greatest
thing,
experiences
man.
There.
Yo, ain't nothing.
Live sporting. One of the things I tell everybody, whether you're an MMA fan, whether you're in a UFC live, a one championship fight live,
it doesn't matter what.
It is one of the most draining things because it's not one. It's not one team playing all the way through. Different fights all the way.
Different fighter, different
and
cards.
You'll get through some of these fight cards, and you're just like, Holy crap, still the main event. UFC 300 did that. UFC 300. I don't know if you guys remember Max Holloway, Justin Gaethje.
Yes, yep.
The last 10 seconds.
Bro.
Dude, you should have seen. There was still the women.
And the crazy part was Holloway was winning that by a mile.
Yeah.
And he pointed.
And he's like pointing to the ground.
Right
and I have
in the middle.
I happened to
he
just
did
put
this.
on my phone to record the last 10 seconds.
Oh,
Dude,
caught him up with
the
footage.
ESPN fought my footage for that. Was like, dude, you caught that? I'm like, I happened to just have my phone out. And I caught the entire last 10 seconds of that fight. Then, so everyone just like sits back. Everyone, they sit back like, holy crap, there's still 2 more fights. The women's fight got shafted, man, because everybody was so exhausted. So everybody went to drink more, wake up a bit.
Come back.
Then the Alex Pereira fight is still going to happen with Jamal Hill. That fight ended in
How you
one
feel
round.
about that? The people say that like, oh, he cheated. He's like, he gave him time to take one step. You know those critical keyboard warriors? They're like, oh, he just wanted to gain, gain ground, right? That was what he said.
Yeah. So how I studied that fight was, so if you guys remember, what happened was, so Jamal Hill kind of kicked him in the balls.
Yeah.
And the ref will step in and they'll give you 5 minutes to kind of recover.
Yeah.
Alex Pereira, if you watch him, he's one of the greatest kickboxers. He was already figuring out his timing.
Yeah.
Once you kind of figure out the timing of somebody, you don't want that pattern to break.
Exactly.
And he had figured it out. It was the last, 1 minute of the round?
It was the last minute.
1 minute of that round. So he had figured out what was going to work. So had the ref stepped in, broken it up, now you go reset.
Then you got to redo the whole,
and you break that pattern. That's why he did that. That was like next level read that he had, and you knew what he was going to come with.
And it's actually true. If you actually watch that fight, he's still weaving and bobbing. He did this while he's still like in that, and then boom.
He had the timing figured out. If you're in the sport long enough, you'll figure out once you kind of figure out that timing, because that's what jabs and stuff are, right?
Yeah.
When you're jabbing, you're not going to knock somebody out with a jab. You're figuring out the read. What are they reacting to? Are they flinching? Are they turning their head? Are they not even
how they're reacting to a certain
like reading a book?
Yeah.
You're gathering data at that point.
It's really strategic in that sense.
Yeah, you're gathering data. So he had figured out the data at that point.
He's like, okay, I'm good.
Yeah.
That's exactly what Leon Edwards did to Kamaru Usman when he knocked him out in the 5th. He's like, he did the perfect. Kamaru Usman did exactly what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to slip the cross, and you're supposed to take your head to the side. Leon Edwards turned the very perfect technique into what knocked him out. He's like, okay, if his head go that way, because these are very things that we train, right? But it's like data. You're constantly. That's why I always say when people watch MMA for the first time, I'm like, there's not a lot of random things that are happening. You think it's just a fight happening and there's a bunch of guys throwing punches and kicks and hopefully one guy lands and there's a knockout, right? No, that's not what's going on. There's a lot of reads. There's a lot of stuff happening. A lot of things going on. There's a lot of data that's being
collected. Yeah, I think perfect example of that is that Connor was what's his name?
Jose Aldo?
No. The other one. The one that fought Khabib as well. What's his name?
Dustin Poirier?
Justin Poirier.
Right.
What was the one thing that Connor's like, he brushed it off at the end? What was it? Legs kick.
Yeah.
Poirier was what?
He went to shit on it.
Whole round. Bow. There was a point where he couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah.
And that's how he beat him in the first round, the first time, right?
He kept on both those fights, and I was like, he's got that shit.
Oh man,
this guy's at
who is
every
your?
fight.
No, who is your? I'm curious. Who is your Mount Rushmore? If you had to pick
MMA fighters,
MMA all time, whatever it is, like who?
Are we gonna take Dana in this?
We are, because he think, we'll take Dana in this. John Jones is the greatest of all time.
I think the most complete fighter. There's difference between the greatest and the most
complete. Yeah.
I have to give props to Mighty Mouse. He is one that he didn't get the respect that he should have done at flyweight because everyone didn't respect small guys. But if you watch the sport enough, the smaller guys have to be more technical than the heavier guys because the heavier guy has to land one big punch. The small guy has to duck and weave. Not everything's going to knock him out. So there's way more stuff and Mighty Mouse was the most complete guy. Second guy, GSP. GSP was, and people forget GSP because the new era, a lot of them,
they don't know.
And even the third guy, Anderson Silva, people forget him. Because a lot of people started watching in the like mid 2000s, right?
Because that's when it got notoriety and people getting interested.
I haven't even said John Jones yet.
I think Dana's getting more and more pissed. Who the fuck this guy think he is?
John Jones, and then Khabib. Khabib or Islam. I'd put them both because Islam is a more complete version of Khabib. I know that people would want me to say Conor and stuff like that. Conor's a good fighter. Conor took the sport to a different.
No, I feel like Conor is like he's an entertainer, and that's the only thing he cared for.
True.
No, that's what he cared for.
He transcended the sport.
Yeah.
He's like the Ocho Cinco of UFC.
Yeah, he transcended the
what he
sport.
is.
He took it where everybody was interested. He got so many eyes involved. He brought the money fights. Like I was at the Mayweather McGregor
fight,
one, and it was so different. Like, you know, it was just like, you're like, dude, I'm part of something special. Anytime you went to a Conor fight, you felt like you were at something different. Because I've been to a lot of other ones, and I've never like the Khabib and Conor one felt like the most toxic thing I've ever been through.
Yeah.
Even when that week we were there,
thrown out of buses.
Dude, it felt different because every other week, like the Nate Diaz ones, both Nate Diaz ones felt fun. It was a bit like, it felt a bit tense because, you know, there was a lot of shit like leading up to the second one. But the Khabib Conor one was, and that's why. So that shit that happened after the fight, we literally knew that was gonna happen. We didn't think it was gonna happen to that point where he jumped.
I didn't expect him to freaking dive, flying kick.
So after we left, Paradigm. So I used to be managed by Conor McGregor's management, by Paradigm Sports Management. So they were literally like, get to your hotel as quick as you can. So we were staying at the Signature at Mandalay Bay, and we all meet up and we go to the after party, but we knew there wasn't an after party on this day because, you know, Conor had just been beat. Dude, we're walking through T-Mobile, we're seeing people get dropped left, right,
center.
The cameras are off now. They're off pay-per-view. And the telecast event, all you saw was people jump the cage and all that happened. And dude, there was stuff, you would look around in the sections, in different sections.
Everybody teeing off and everybody.
The Khabib, like, you know, I forgot what it's called, like, you know, the big wig thing.
Oh, the bear thing he wears.
People were fighting. I saw 3 guys get dropped out, like, out by the bathroom, outside in front of T-Mobile. Outside
a whole riot.
It was one of the most hostile things. I had to get it was me and my wife, so I had to get her out of there. So we went and sat at her hotel waiting on their call, being like, when they were going to be like, listen,
that's crazy.
Come to XS.
No.
Usually they call us. We just fell asleep waiting. They're like, dude, it's not happening. They're like, it's way too dangerous out here. There's too much shit that's been caused. Even the Nate Diaz fights never felt like that. Never felt like.
The thing was, like, with the Conor, is for like, his thing is like, he didn't give a fuck what he said. And how he said it in the manner he said it, right?
Yeah.
And thing with Khabib is like, he comes from a place where like, respect, you know.
Yeah.
Then McGregor, he's a shows, he like, that's what he does. He likes to, like, even what did he say? I think he's like, let's talk now during the run. He's like, I'm just trying to sell and what did Conor say? He's like, I'm just trying to sell the
It's
fight.
all business.
He's like, it's all business, right?
Yeah.
But Khabib doesn't play that. That's not how he grew up. So it's like, and then on top of that, it's like the divide between like, on top of that, he's Muslim, right? So it's like disrespecting a whole religion.
Well, dude,
that's what
when
people
he was
took it as.
Promoting his proper 12, he was telling him to take a drink.
Take a drink.
And a Muslim, like, faith.
Yeah.
They don't drink alcohol.
You
Like,
don't drink,
and he was just doing stupid stuff. But even...
Then he called.
Though.
But then he called him out with the whole Russia thing too. It's like how Putin is giving money for his arena. See, thing is now you mix your political stuff in there, religion shit in there, and the personal hate you have for this person. And now imagine like you're a Conor McGregor fan, I'm a Khabib fan. I hate you. I don't even know you, but I hate you. I want to knock you out.
Like, it wasn't even like, you know, I've been to fights where someone's like, you're cheering for him, and we can still watch the fight together.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it was different. My wife even looked at me, she's like, dude, it feels different. This is before the fight started. She's like, it feels different in here.
Yeah.
We have been to so many, we've been through his entire career. Like, from the Jose Aldo fight, I was at every single fight, never missed one. But we knew there was something different during this one. We knew something was going to happen. Like, we didn't know what was going to happen. We're like, something doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
Even though the Nate Diaz one, like, we're like, Nate Diaz one was, like, there was a lot of beef in that one. Yeah. But it still was like, you know, like, I trained with a lot of Nate Diaz's, like friends. His cousin is one of my really good friends, Tony Diaz. And, like, you know, it's all, like, you know.
It's crazy,
it's all fun now. Like, we talk about that fight.
Yeah.
It's all fun. He got paid, made him, like, millionaire.
Yep.
Set him up. And there's another fight that he would do just because he knows how lucrative.
Yeah.
But it wasn't anything where you felt in any certain way. But that one...
Yeah. There's a different feel to it.
And I'll also say this, like, being an MMA fighter, being at one championship, the reason I signed to one instead of going to the UFC was that during the Conor era is when...
I was going to ask you about that. I'm like, why did you?
I'm not a trash talker. I don't know how to sell a fight like that. I've never been that guy.
Really?
There was one in Mumbai that got a bit heated because I had to move up 2 weight classes. I accused the guy of taking steroids, which I know he clearly did, and he was saying a bunch of stuff, and we literally fought. I kicked him at the weigh-ins, and big and stuff, and they had to like have security on us for the whole 5 days we were there. That was just, and after the fight, we were cool. We shook hands.
To respect it, yeah.
But I will also say, I'm glad Khabib won. I'm glad Dustin Poirier won. Because I felt like the good guys came back and the respect for the sport came back. And what MMA was all about came back. Because it was all about, every guy was trying to imitate Conor at press conferences. Every guy was trying to sell it. Every guy sounded like an idiot trying to be him. And everyone, it was just cringy by everybody. And they thought that's what it took to become, like, you know, to sell a fight. Dustin Poirier comes along, beats him twice. Khabib comes along, didn't have to talk shit.
Mauled him, man. Just stay mauled.
Everybody after that, right? And now the good guys showed up. Now you got the guys like, you know, you got guys like Max Holloway doing talk shit. All the
Alex Pereira, he doesn't talk shit. He doesn't talk shit.
He's the only guy outside of Anderson Silva that, when English is a second language, has still become such a megastar. Like, nobody becomes a superstar without Sean O'Malley's probably the closest thing, but even Sean O'Malley does not. He's not a
big talk. You know, he doesn't. He only talks if like you and Tyson. He's not gonna come out and just start like saying shit. You know what? One thing I want to touch upon you is with Alex. Let's stick on this and compare to other athletes as well.
He's my favorite.
Yeah. The controversy, like the face, the amount of accusation athletes are starting to face now. Period. Not even him. Like he had the allegation of like how apparently like
about that.
Like it's not even him. It's athletes all over basketball, football. You see every other day there's a news about this girl's like, oh, he raped me, he freaking gave me drugs, took us back. Like, I'm like, there's so many of these people.
How quickly did that disappear?
Yeah, like I don't think it even lasted a week. I don't think it even lasted a week. But thing is,
the girl was an OnlyFans model. Trying to get a check.
There you go.
And she was saying, what was she saying? Like, she was saying a bunch of shit. Like,
she was saying a bunch. She's like, you have I don't know, man. It's like, you have a family. She's like, oh, you're messaging minors, this, that. But like you're 20 and 21. It's like, what do you, then she's like, you're a 40. It's like just diminishing of someone's like
reputation.
Dragging it down, right? So what for though? It's like now you're seeing it more and more. Because why? Because everybody thinks they can just get away with it. I think that should be criminal. Like they should be criminal. They should be charged and go to jail for that shit.
Well, I mean, those people.
100%.
I think so.
Well, I mean, those type of people are never going to be held accountable, right?
I think they should start.
They should.
Haven't they done that?
I think they did that with one person, but she actually went to jail for 5 years. Actually, there was a case where like they should put a severe, like he raped me, he like drugged me. Like some, like she self-inflicted.
I remember that.
Like self-inflicted, showed bruises and stuff.
The guy went what 20 years?
Yeah, so it was some crazy. So, like you do see these cases, but it's people want that easy money where like they think they can get away with this shit. You know, and it's not cool. This is not something cool. And you know, one thing that going back to the Olympics, did you see that one? Was it a Canadian Olympian that won, and she like after she did the jump, I think she won a silver. She did this like funny little twerk thing, and then she opened.
She has an OnlyFans.
Then she started the OnlyFans after the Olympics.
She actually had it before that.
She had it before that
because. And
she blew up after.
and I'll tell you why I understand. I'll tell you why I understand. Like you can shake your head at it. I'll tell you why I understand that. Dude, when I started, nobody wanted to sponsor
you.
Nobody in the community. That's why whenever we talk about community and represent the community, dude, my community didn't want to stand behind me whatsoever. It wasn't until I made it to a place they wanted to stand with me. But when I needed them,
nobody was there.
They were not there. They were shutting the door. And I know exactly who the people were because they're the same people who are like
cheering you on now.
Rode with you. But I know who rode with me, right? And so, and I know when these athletes are coming up and they need money to train and stuff like that, the government is not paying you well. I don't even know if the government. I know Olympics fighters we don't get paid.
Olympics whatsoever. You don't get paid. You don't get paid to come out there. It's like
just get the medal.
It's like whether it's
So
go on.
How are you gonna pay for your training? You got to figure it out. So you're gonna hate on her for she got the silver, but she had to.
She did that funny.
She had to run the OnlyFans to make that money to train. So what are you gonna blame her for?
Yeah, that's true. Though.
I can't hate on. I totally understand it. Being an athlete myself, I totally get it, man. Because I'm sure she went to sponsors. I'm sure she went to. I bet you that wasn't her first resort. I bet you she went to people and people are like, listen, man, like, I don't know, like, you know, what you wanted in?
I think it was a long jump or high jump. One of the, I don't know, I forgot.
I don't care to brand myself on long jump. Like, what am I going to get at? So you're not going to support her, right? She did probably had charity fundraisers, support money, probably didn't get much. So now you go to the last resort. Right? And being an athlete, I know that situation because I had to hold down 3-4 jobs to pay for my training at one point. When the community apparently was standing behind my back, but nobody was there.
That's different though, because what's the first thing that we think about when we talk about OnlyFans? The first thing, right?
Yeah,
Right.
100%.
So the thing is like, where's the line of respect? You did 3-4 jobs, right? Then when we talk about, let's say for the woman's side, the first thing that sells is beauty.
Yeah.
So then why are you taking the easy route? And I can understand there's finances,
But what if
expenses.
it wasn't easy? Like, what if she has such high values and she had to resort herself to that? How do we know that she took the easy route?
But the thing is, like, when we talk about OnlyFans, is that something that we consider as high value then?
No, of course not. Like obviously we don't, but there's certainly, I truly believe some people get pushed into corners where they have to resort
to it.
Where they have to be like, dude, like, I want to go to the Olympics. I don't have money to train.
Yeah.
I can't hold down 8 hours a shift to make money.
Train
How
at
do
a
I
high
make
level.
this money quick so I can focus on? She won a silver.
Yeah.
She didn't come up as runner-up. She brought home the silver to Canada.
Yeah.
Canada wasn't complaining about that. How she got there is what they were hating on.
Yeah.
But she got there. She whatever
blew
money
up
she
even
made,
afterwards.
Whatever money, she blew up more. She probably got more subscribers now.
Oh yeah, I guess so.
But being an athlete, I get that. Because I've been in situations where, like, accounts are withdrawn, don't have any money, got to pack up my stuff, and it's like, obviously I can
Circumstances.
do nothing. Like,
Circumstances.
But
I guess
if you got something, like, I don't think a dude could do it. Well, maybe they could. I don't know. Like, I remember having to live off of $60 a week. Having to train somebody in Montreal that was like a smoker and 3 times a week. So I made $180 a week, and that's how I fed myself. Chase my dream of becoming one of the best fighters in the world, becoming top 5 in the world. Right, but nobody will know that because I will get messages from up and coming fighter be like, bro, how'd you get the support right away? How'd they support you right away?
But
How'd your parents support you?
It's been 10 years
my
before you
parents
meet.
My parents, up until I started in 2008, up until
Didn't even know.
2017, my dad was like, and my dad's my biggest fan. My mom and dad are my biggest fan. My dad's like, we literally lie to people on what you do.
Ashamed of what you're doing.
Because you amounted to nothing. Right? And I'm sitting there in Montreal training with George St. Pierre. I'm training with the best guys in the world. I'm training in the mecca of MMA, Canada MMA at that time. Right? And they have no idea how much I'm pushing myself, what I'm living off of, but yet they're embarrassed at that point, right?
Yeah.
So I had
family, man.
You understand from like an athlete's perspective of what it takes to get to the level, like. But that's the thing, though. It's circumstances, right?
Yeah.
It's like the only thing. Imagine like you're gonna have a kid now soon, right? Let's say like you have a daughter. Like, how do you even decipher that though? Imagine your kid is 18, 20. Let's say 20, and she comes to you, Dad, I want to start an OnlyFans. What do you say?
That is true.
That's on me to set my family. That responsibility lays on me. I gotta set my family up. I gotta grind hard enough where we don't have to fall on that decision. I gotta do something right now in this moment. Build a business, do whatever, save the money where we don't like Chris Rock always says. Chris Rock is like, I know I'm a good dad. I kept my daughter off the pole, and that was the only goal. And at the end of the day, he's like, that's it, right? He's like, I made the money. I did comedy. He's like, you think that's funny money? Kept my girl off the pole. At the end of the day,
It's true.
That's the goal, right?
That's the goal.
Keep her off the pole, right? If I keep her off the webcam, keep her off the pole, right? And that's so it's not. It's like, I bet you if you're coming up with a lot of money, your girl's probably not going to do that.
True.
Because she's taking care of. Right?
That's
your daughter. That's your kid.
Yeah.
It's usually when you're stuck in hard times that you have to
do it. I mean, people resort to stuff that you wouldn't because just do out of.
It's out of desperation.
Desperation and
They make you do
another thing too. We were talking about respect before. I want your thoughts on the Jake Paul brothers fighting the old heads.
Fighting the old heads?
Yeah.
The Mike Tyson one's coming up. No, November 6th.
They already canceled it.
They postponed it or something.
November 6th or 10th or something like that is coming up.
Are they doing it again?
Yeah.
All I heard was they're postponing.
No, they're doing it again.
They're doing
November 10th or 6th around there. Early November.
But it's crazy though. Like, I mean, we were talking about respect, right? Now these guys are fighting old heads just to climb up the ladder. But it's like what?
But they don't want to climb the ladders. They don't care about that. But the thing is, like, okay,
there is no ladder to climb.
But then
what ladder to go?
Old Mike Tyson.
But then where's respect left?
60.
Yeah, where's the next step after old Mike Tyson?
Well, I guess
he's 60, G. He's 60. After third round, the guy's going to be...
I hope Mike Tyson whips the shit out of him, man.
But that's
the thing. He's not gonna, man.
Yeah,
the fact that he's 60 years old.
The thing is, okay, Jake is what? Peak of his physique, and he can actually box. He's not someone that you can just be like,
he's boxed old heads, man. He hasn't boxed a real fighter in the gym.
Yeah, Mike Tyson's 60, man.
Whatever he is.
And here's another thing. Let me tell you. Okay, if you they're gonna sell this fight based on videos that they're gonna make of Mike. Mike's back, old Mike, right? I'm telling you right now, take it from somebody that's put up if you guys see my pad work videos on Instagram,
It looks amazing.
it looks amazing.
It looks
because
like-
I know for those 15 to 30 seconds,
That's true.
somebody is recording.
That is true.
I'm not gonna look sloppy in those 30 seconds. I'm gonna look my best self.
Yeah.
You don't know if I'm winded for the next 10 minutes after that.
Yeah.
It
That's
might have
60.
taken Mike Tyson a day to recover after that.
Yeah.
But those 15, 30 seconds went viral. People are like, look at him, old Mike.
Yeah.
Old Mike, look at him. He can go all day. No, he can't. I bet you he had an asthma attack after that.
Yeah,
shit.
it's
I
true.
bet you like he was
That's
probably
true,
on a
though.
ventilator after.
Yo, he was
100%.
done with that Roy Jones Jr. Fight.
See that fight?
Yeah. It was done.
I mean, they're both old.
I wish that
It was
fight
pretty
would
good for the time period, though. They're pretty good.
Yeah.
I wish that fight wouldn't happen. I don't think it's a good idea.
I don't think
I
so.
hope they have something just BS planned out where
And they never do it
nobody
again.
gets hurt.
Yeah.
I don't even care. Like what?
I hope it's
what do I-
fixed. I hope it's fixed.
I hope
where-
Mike doesn't get hurt. Because
Yeah.
Mike, I feel like, is on a good path now. So Russell Peters, like a good friend of mine, he's really good friends with Mike Tyson, and he's told me like he's that darkness that he's come from and stuff like that. Mike Tyson's somebody I've looked up to. Like I've suits made where Mike is on the inside, Muhammad Ali is on the inside, like my Rushmore, my Mount Rushmore, and like. I'm like, dude, you need to talk to this guy. And he's like, dude, I have, man. He's like, but I'll tell you one thing. And this is something that I'm dealing with myself. The fighter never dies in a fight.
Yeah, fighter. Yeah.
The fighter never dies.
Especially
you see
Mike
these
Tyson.
younger guys coming up. You see the game never dies. So as long as you're watching a boxing fight, as long as you're tuning into an MMA fight, and you've been in there, you felt the cage, you felt that adrenaline. There's nothing else that'll replace it. You can do whatever drug you want. You can do it. The only thing people tell me is the birth of your child is the equivalent. So I haven't had that yet. So I don't know if that's going to replicate, but there's nothing in my life. I've told my wife,
Incredible.
even when we got married, it wasn't anything close to when I feel a victory. I told her straight up, I'm like, my victories feel a lot crazier than this. Right? Like, it's different, man. It's different. There's a different high. There's a different chemical that releases when your hand gets raised. It's a complete opposite when your hand doesn't get raised. But that's what a fighter misses. They look for things after retirement of what can fulfill that.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of fighters become addicts, right? They look for that, drinkers and stuff like that. That's why Mike went down the dark path as much as he did. He didn't have an outlet anymore. That's why a lot of these guys go down that They go down that path because they're looking for that. They become coke addicts. And
People don't realize his story though. Like his trainer, what's his name?
Good tomato.
He was his father figure, his mentor. Everything he knew how to carry himself. Like he pretty much that was the person that kept him from not going down the wrong path. After he passed away, like how do you come back from that? Someone that don't have anything in life anyways. So. But
he took him from the Bronx.
Yeah, and
he used to wake
raised
up
him as a kid.
Tyson used to wake up in the middle of the night and be like, I should rob these people.
Yeah.
Because that's all he knew. Because he would go into these kind of houses when he was living in the Bronx and rob white people like this. And now this guy adopted him and gave him a home. He's like, what the hell's going on? Like he's like, why are these people caring for me? Why are they asking me stuff? He's like, I'm pretty sure I'm supposed to rob these people, and you never did, right?
It's tough though, man. It's tough.
There's another crazy stuff about Tyson. And Tyson talks about this. He truly was brainwashed. He was brainwashed. He was 100%. If you
like, what do you mean by
if you study stuff like I work with sports psychologists, and one of my biggest fears. I used to have crazy anxiety leading up to a fight. My body, so I would do 10, 15 rounds of sparring. But when I get in the fight,
I heard about this.
I could last maybe 2-3 minutes because now the adrenaline's on, the nervousness on, your body's. So my sports, my mindset coach would always work on these things. And we used to do psychosis stuff. We used to do hypnotizing stuff. And he used to always be like, there's a dark place you need to enter. And I'm telling you, there's some of the trainings that I've done are nuts. I told my wife one time after a 6-hour session, I'm like, I don't think I can talk to you for 3 days. I was staying at Russell Peters' house, and she was in Vancouver. I'm like, I don't think we should talk for 3 days. And she's like, what? And she just understood when I'm in camp because I'm like, there's nothing uplifting that's going to come out of my mouth. And there's nothing that you and me can relate to for the next 3 days until I absorb this traumatic experience that I went to that's going to make me into this absolute beast in the cage. Yeah. It's only able to be used in the cage. There's no way I could be a good husband to you with what I've gone through in this training session. Yep. And this is what Customato used to do. He used to hypnotize him. He used to brainwash him. He used to tell him that he's an absolute savage. And this is why when he passed away, Tyson didn't know how to turn it off.
The
This is where those
psychological-
rape allegations came from. This is when he didn't know how to control it. When reporters would say stuff, he would lose it. He didn't know how to control it no more because there was nobody able to control that beast that Customato had created. Right? And that's what people are like, no, he's mentally off. No. He was brainwashed to be an absolute killer. That's all he was meant to be. And when the very guy that created the beast, like Frankenstein, almost like Frankenstein and the scientist, he didn't know how to control it himself. Now he's coming around to it. Now he discovered, like, mushrooms. He did DMT. He smokes weed. He has his own farm of marijuana.
He does it.
And this is why he's become this guy. If you listen to Mike Tyson interviews, it's some
one of the nicest, polite,
most wisdom-filled interviews you can listen to.
He's so calm
the
now.
knowledge that he has is absolute. But the prime Mike Tyson, he was a dangerous because he didn't know what
he even said it. He's like, I will step in the rings. Like, I'll be afraid that I'm going to kill my opponent.
Yep.
Yeah.
Remember the shit he used to say? He's like, I'll eat your children. No, he wasn't just saying that like Conor
He
McGregor,
means
like,
that shit.
Fight.
Yeah.
He was lost, dude. That's why he didn't trust nobody when all the rape allegations, like, who was that girl he was married to that basically outed him on Barbara Walters?
I forgot what was his name.
And he just sitting there just like, I don't even know what to do right now because he had never been trained. This woman is just talking about how she's abused by him, how she's mistreated by him.
Yeah.
And he just has his arm around her in this Barbara Walter 20 for 20 interview and just like, is this happening for real?
He blanked out.
He didn't have, because he didn't have human mechanisms to cope with something like that.
Yep.
He'd only been taught to be an absolute beast in the ring, not to be a human being.
Outside.
That's something even like myself, like, when I tore my ACL, the biggest issue I was having was how to be a good husband, how to be a good man at home, because all I knew was how to be this absolute animal amongst absolute animals and just sparring and punching and kicking. We didn't talk much. We beat the shit out of each other and we go home 3 times a day. That's all we did. That's all we did because we were trained for one thing. I didn't know to ask about your feelings. Ask about your day. I didn't ask about, oh, why are you sad? Oh, you're sad or you're hungry. No, nobody asked us that. Right? So during COVID time, that's when I probably become the most dangerous because me and my boy who passed away, we were the only ones locked in Russell's house. Nobody was there. And it was just me and him, and we would just do pads, and we beat the shit out of each other, but nobody ever asked, hey, how you feeling, man? How you doing? And we just became absolute animals. And I didn't know how to, so after a fight, it takes me about 2-3 weeks to become a, normal society human being. And my wife knows that. She knows I'm not going to click right in because I've been through an 8-week camp, then that whole fight week trauma that you go, it's all trauma at the end of the day.
It is, yeah.
As much as people are like, your adrenaline and everything, it's trauma. You're sitting in a room, you're looking at the clock, in 5 days, 4 days, 3 days, 2 days, 10 hours, 5 hours, 5 minutes. On this day, at this time, at this hour, you're about to go fight this man in front of the world, half naked.
It's ticking down. It's going to tick a bomb.
That's why I can't respect street fighters, because street fighting, it takes no thinking. It happens in the moment. You don't know when you come out of club. Hey, listen, bro, you're
swinging left. You don't know what you're throwing.
It's quick. It's over quick. But an MMA fight, you're training. You're losing your mind for like.
That's true.
You're insomniac for 8 weeks, 9 weeks, and you're just like, dude, like, am I doing enough? What is my opponent doing? What am I doing? Anybody that's talking to you irritates you because you're just like, if it's not about fighting, I don't want to think about it. And
it's a psychological warfare. You pretty much.
That's why if you see GSP now, if you see his Instagram, he's just the happiest
guy.
But everybody was on his ass for those prime years. As soon as he would win a fight, hey, George, this guy won. That's your next fight. Beat that fight. Hey, George, you won this. Dude, he was like that because when he'd be in the gym with us, he was a nice guy, but he wasn't the most approachable guy. And then it makes sense. It's like, dude, they're always on him. They're always talking about the next thing. They never let him enjoy
He never shut his brain off.
Because they're already talking about the next fight. Then he hits that fight. That's why he retired.
What was that one fight where he took that leeway too? Remember when they thought he lost that fight? Even Dana said he lost that fight?
Hendricks.
Was it when his face was just all beat up?
That's when he retired.
And then what was the first thing that he's like, okay, what's your next? It's like, think about it. You're just coming out of war. Imagine you just, like, you're in war. And you just slaughtered like so many people in front of you, and then you got back in the interview. They're like, okay, so what's the next war you're going to?
Well, a part of that was because I was part of that camp. There was rumors already floating that he was going to
probably retire.
And I don't even think he had a decision made because he looked at Faraz.
Dana hated him for it though.
Yeah, because he won the belt and then he gave it back, and then so he kind of like, I think he made a decision at that
moment.
He wasn't sure. If you look at him, he's like, okay.
His face was so fucked up. Like he was just at a point where like, man, I just need a break. That's what he said. He's like, I just need a break. And he's so calm. He never breaks character where he lashes out at anybody, right? He's like, it's like a character thing. But
GSP at the end of the day is one of the
greatest,
one of the nicest guys. Remember when I got to Montreal, I didn't know anybody there, and I didn't have a lot of money. I just won my fight in India, and the $2,000 I made for my fight, I took that and got an Airbnb. Actually, Airbnb didn't even exist at that time.
Apartment or something. Yeah.
I found somebody and I paid them money and I lived at their place. Didn't speak French, didn't know anything. It's a completely different place. And George saw me walking down the street, and I had like a summer jacket on, right? Because summer's here. Like you can make it to the winter with a summer jacket in Vancouver. There in Montreal, it's minus 35. He runs to his car. So we were going to a club. He took me to a club. We parked 3 blocks away. He realized when we were in the lineup, he ran 3 blocks, went and grabbed his Sean jacket that he gave me. He's like, keep this with you. You need this. Then the next day, he's like, do you want to go to the spa? He took me to my first spa in Montreal.
Damn.
Nicest spa. And he took me on. So the funniest thing about he'll take care of you, but he is the most stingiest guy too. So at this spa, you all have to bring your own sandals. We didn't know that. So he has like 15 pairs on the back of his truck because he takes a lot of fighters weekly. It's like his recovery day is Sunday. He called me like 3 times that day. Bro, can you bring the sandals tomorrow? Can you bring the sandals tomorrow? The sandals were like $2. He's like, bro, are you bringing the sandals today? I'm like, holy shit, you're like a multi-millionaire.
He came with $2 sandals.
Biggest stress, bro. So, yeah.
That's like a LeBron story. LeBron never turns on his data.
Yeah.
He never turns on his data after he leaves his house.
That's why some of these athletes, they keep their money, man. Because they're still smart, man.
Yeah.
They're still smart.
You know, now there's more brand awareness too, though. People are getting aware about how to conserve their money and whatnot too, like understanding like the financial literacy is becoming more and more prominent. Less people are becoming broke. But I think one thing that I want to touch upon what Mukh said about like Jake Paul and all that, I feel like a lot of the times they undercut the hard work of a fighter. Imagine like a boxer, like imagine like yourself, like you're in a position, you're coming up for a fighter, and then your fights don't even get no recognition. You've been in it 10, 15, 20, 30. You're busting your ass. You see someone who just walks in and they get the easy way out.
And usually the undercard is actually legit boxers. Like the last 3 was Amanda Serrano, who's an amazing boxer. She's a woman boxer. There's some like
they don't
crazy...
get the, and that's the one thing that I hate is like people only care for the virality of what's happening, but like, oh, I want to see the crazy stuff. Like, what's Jake Paul going to do or not?
Boxing though. And MMA, that's the beauty of MMA.
But yeah, that's what Dana has made, though.
That's Dana. Like you'll have fans there from the first UFC 300. I've never seen a place sold out at 3 p.m. have it full because every fight was stacked, and we left that place at 11:30. Every fight we sat through because that card was so stacked. But if you were just there, like it wasn't like boxing where it's just the main event and everything's built around it. Everybody was there's a fight that you were there for. And look, if you were there just for the main event, you were gonna miss the Max Holloway which was probably the craziest.
Ain't no one leaving their seats, no nothing. No, that knockout was probably one of the greatest knockouts I've seen.
But that whole card, the first 5 fights on that prelim were all knockouts.
Knockouts.
And it was just one that and that's the beauty of MMA and the way that one thing like props to the UFC, the build cards where it's not just built around one fight.
Exactly.
If you don't know every fighter, like obviously this the Sphere card coming out.
That's gonna be. We're talking about the $4,000 a seat, $3,000. Hell, I paid that.
The Sphere card is good. If you are if you follow MMA, the fighters are good. The fighters are gonna put on some bangers.
You will buy it.
I wouldn't. I would not pay $3,000 to go. No, I would go to a bar and watch it at a bar. I would if I'm in Vegas that weekend. I won't. If it's $3,000, I would pay about $200-$300. I paid $200-$300, but $3,000,
$4,000.
I can go to the Canelo fight first down the street, and then just go watch the rest of the UFC card at a bar. I'd rather do that. I feel like a lot of my friends are gonna be doing that. Right, the Canelo fight, go watch that. Sphere for $3,000 to watch that. Card's good, but it's not $3,000. It's not $3,000. Good, not at all.
Well, I mean, on that note,
it's gonna be monumental.
I think it's gonna be history. No one's ever done it the way Dana's done it. I haven't. Dude, it's gonna be history.
Nuts.
I only seen videos and photos, like
I'm going for F1 for a brunch. Oh my god! So
sick, though.
I'm actually going for a New Year's concert there. So they're finally. So I know one of the guys that makes all the the events for John Stelia, and the first day it opened, I'm like, there's something called Afterlife. It's called Afterlife Music Festival.
Yeah.
So it happens in Tula, and I'm sure you guys have seen clips. It's like crazy
Visuals,
and stuff like that. So like Nima, Caleb, it's like, it's kind
Everybody's
of
on something. Everybody's in a different world.
Yeah, and the first day I asked him, I was like, bro, you need to bring this. And when he announced it, he's like, you're going to be excited
for this?
And I'm like, so they started with one day. It was supposed to be December 30th. I'm like, bro, this is going to sell out in 30 seconds. Sold out in 30 seconds.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It went from 1 day to 2 days, 2 days to 3 days,
3 days.
4 days to 4 days. Now it's 1 week straight. 1 week straight started, and it's 1 week, entire week. They sold out entire 7 days straight at the Sphere. First time that they're gonna have a music festival there, and I'm gonna be at that. And it's like,
no. It's gonna be exciting, man. On that note, I don't think is there anything else you want to touch upon that you feel like
Nah. Honestly,
it's been a long day.
Yeah, no, I've just been because I'm not up to date with a lot of the stuff, especially in the sports world.
Yeah.
So majority of the topics we kind of already discussed. So
yeah, no, man, and that's the main thing that we started this channel. You want to just talk about stuff that is unfiltered, unhinged, whatever you want to talk about, we talk about it. And then that's what we want to bring out more and more. And then Gary had this vision that he's like, man, I've been contemplating for how long? Couple years now? 3, 4, 5.
4 or 5 years. I've been asked to start a podcast, and I'm just like, I don't want to. And then I saw the hustle of you guys, man. I was like, let's do it.
Yeah,
let's do it.
And that's what I encourage, man.
And I didn't want the BS of the whole G-rated shit.
Nah, fuck that shit.
I'm like,
we ain't for that.
Yeah.
It's a long road, man. I tell people all the time, like there's couple local kids out there. They're like, yo, bro, I want to start this. I'm like, bro, we're not up to anything. I'm like, we're still building ourselves to a point where like one day we'll accumulate or something. And that's what I tell the kids. I'm like, this shit's not gonna come overnight, man. I remember like me dropping out the CPA and then like buying my first shop. I was $700K in debt because I bought my first 2 shops. They're not guaranteed returns. They're not guaranteed. And my dad's like, I believed in myself that I'm like, okay, 6 years, when am I yet? Yeah. And then you prevail on the other side to show, be like, yo, this shit's possible, man. And then even this podcast thing, how many people were naysayers? But like, yo, you guys just 2 brown kids just chatting shit, this, that. And like a year now, everybody's like, yo, this is so dope, this, that, da-da-da-da. So it's like, I tell people, man, like, we're not professional at anything. It's just, if you believe in something, man, just keep doing it a day in, a day out. And it will accumulate to something great one day that you look back, be like, damn, I'm glad I did that.
Well, the biggest thing is the one quote, as I always say, is ignorance is bliss. Yeah. Just pay attention to what you're doing.
Delayed gratification is big, too.
Yeah.
In this day and age, delayed gratifications, everyone wants, if I don't get the result tomorrow, it's not worth it.
It's not worth it.
Like, like even the place that we're in right now. Like,
look how many years it probably took them.
Right? I don't know if I'm even allowed to mention a lot of stuff, but dude, the guy has a foot in everything. Right? And then this just popped up newly now.
Yeah. Beautiful place too, man. Encourage people.
And it's just like, you're just leveling up. There's different levels of everything. Right? And like, there's always a different level to go up to. And is delayed gratification. I think a biggest thing is, I think in our generation, I think that's why a lot of kids step into, especially our community, steps into like the drug game. The drug game, you see it as being something quick, right? And it's like, I tell somebody, I'm like, listen, man, come back to me in 5 years when you've been doing MMA for 5 years.
5 years.
5 years? 5 years, bro? I actually remember the same thing for myself, too. I thought I was going to be, fighting in the UFC or one championship in the first year. Dude, it took me 8 years. 8 years. See, 8 years, training every day, 3 times a day, building my whole life around it, changing every relationship that I know, changing my whole circle around, changing the way that I think, the way that I am, the way that I approach life, the way that my family has to approach me now, the way that I'm going to move around in life. And now I'm 15, 16 years into the game. And I still feel like there's
so much
hundreds of levels. Yeah. Hundreds of levels, right? And it's like, you look back on it, but there's so many other things in between that I learned. And that's another thing that people forget about, is that when you're on a path, you may not even get to where you're trying to get to, but what you're going to learn along the way. Like, I learned how to be a better husband. I learned how to be a better man, a better son, person, a better friend. Someone that if I give you my word, you got my word. I'll stick to my word. Yeah. Right? If somebody, like I put up a quote the other day, I think you guys saw it. It's like be so that you should have so much credibility that you're so loyal that if people talk shit on your name, it brings them down because they know you wouldn't be that guy, right? So
That's huge.
I learned that from the highest up guys, like, you know, guys like Russell Peters. Russell Peters, I remember when he gave me my shot, when he's like, listen, bro, like, I see a true potential in you. I'm like, Russell, I got nothing to give you. He's like, bro, I don't want nothing from you. I just want another kid coming up. I'm not a comedian. I'm not somebody that's coming up in comedy. He's like, I'm able to give you this. You come up and you just appreciate it. And I'm like, so I try to find kids that I can help once I get up to that. Passing on the knowledge, whether I can pay for their fees or something like that. And it just keeps passing on like that.
Another thing too is what usually happens is with a lot of people, just give up way too fucking easily. Whenever they're faced with failure, they're like, oh, okay, that's not it for me. The biggest thing I've seen is just, and it's very fucking true, is a lot of people that are successful, they face a lot of failures. What's questionable is like how they pivot around it. How they overcome that obstacle is because that's the greatest success is just the money and stuff, it will come along its way, right? The biggest thing is how are you going to react to a failure and how are you going to overcome it, right?
Because we live in a generation where everything's very short attention span, right? Like I can scroll through 500 TikTok videos in matter of minutes.
That's true.
Reels, quickly, like, you know, I'm getting to the point where I catch myself. I'm like, if
fuck
it's
am I doing?
Second reel, I'm gonna watch the first 10 seconds,
and then I'm out of there.
This ain't get my attention. I move on. That's the same way people translate to goals and the progress of something that they do. Like me, like I study so much shit. Like I'm not talking about just fighting. I'm talking about whether the market, the stock market, whether it's something, if something intrigues me, and I know that if I learn it inside out, the way I learned MMA from never knowing how to throw a single punch, from being this accountant at 24, and be like, I'm gonna
do this for my lifestyle.
That's how I'm gonna change my lifestyle from being this overweight kid to becoming this MMA fighter. And somehow I figured it out. I know I can figure out anything out, but I know it's not gonna come overnight. I just know that.
Like that one.
But I think I was also lucky that I came up in a time when Instagram didn't exist.
None of this shit existed.
Like no short attention span existed after that. Facebook was the only thing, but Facebook wasn't really something that takes short attention span. You would read someone's post, you'd post something. Now if you're like, boom, 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 boom. So your mind can't even stay engaged in anything for that long.
True.
Right? And I catch myself doing that. I'm not perfect. I catch myself doing that.
No, I think everybody's they're guilty to that. You know, but it's just a testament to your character, man. Everybody goes through shit. Don't judge nobody. Don't envy nobody's success. If you want something, go out and get it, man. There's no reason for you not to get it. I genuinely believe that. So, you know, that's the one thing we want to put out. And then, you know, another shout out we want to give calling guys, you know. I think this facility is in Coquitlam, so anybody in the BC area, you know, they want to get anything done, you know, I recommend you guys coming down here, man. They're passionate about what they do, so, you know.
They definitely are passionate because I had no idea what they were saying. And I called one of my boys who's a huge car enthusiast. And they were talking like a different language, and I don't know. I guess they can build whatever you want to build.
Man. On that note, man, I want to thank everybody for tuning in, man. If you guys want to give us any type of feedback that you guys want to, you know, look forward to, different things you want to talk about, suggest, man, we're all open to it. So on that note, I appreciate everybody tuning in, and then we'll see y'all next time.
Peace.